Hey you guys, Ashley here with Keeping It Crafty with Ashley. So today I am going to be showing you how I build a tight mandala center with banded dots. And this is a beginner friendly tutorial going back to the basics on how to start your dot mandala art, right? And the tight bands that I'm talking about, I will show you. So this is a symmetry stone, a sacred symmetry stone that I painted, and what we're looking to achieve are these nice tight bands around the center of our dot. And what we're looking for is, and thinking about, is our very first dot being our anchor. Everything grows from this point on. We want to think of it as like a ripple effect, just our dots are one size going around and making sure that we're not jumping too fast in size as we make our way out. Because if you jump too large too quickly, your bands will start to spread apart and the center will feel loose instead of tight like these. So this is what we're looking to achieve. I've got some colors here pre-mixed, and I figured these would be the easiest for you to be able to see. This is a 4-inch wood slice that I will be painting on. It's best to practice first on something flat versus rounded like this stone here. So we're going to start on a 4-inch round first. And some things that you're going to want to have close to you are some Q-tips for easy cleanup, especially for like the inside. Like in the very beginning, it's so important to make sure you get those first few bands done properly, or else you'll start to see your dots start to spread apart. So Q-tips are great for getting in those tight spaces. You're also going to want to have something to pull paint away. My favorite tool, hence why it is so messy, is the silicone tool. What I like to use it for is to pull paint away. And if I make a mistake, I will absolutely show you that throughout the video. So Q-tip, some sort of silicone tool, and then of course your dotting tools. Today I'm going to be using my Happy Dotting Company tools, and they look like this. And this will actually be the first time that I'm using these for symmetry stones. Usually I just use the ballpoint, the stainless steel ballpoint, but this would be good. This will be good practice for me. And if you've got these tools, again, it's Happy Dotting Company. They're great for symmetry. So let's get into it. Okay, so for my center dot, I'm going to start off with a size 10. Now it's important to remember it's not really math, but if I'm going to use a size 10, I'm not going to want to use a half size. So Happy Dotting Company's tools come in half sizes. For example, I'm just going to pull this one, 4.5. We're not going to use a 4.5 to 1, because it's too big, and 2, because it's a half size. You want to keep it even with whatever number you're starting with. So I'm going to start with a 1, because that should get me 10 dots, right? It's kind of my thought. So we want to go as small as possible. This is my size 1 tool. And I'm going to start with red. We're going to start off with a bright color so that you guys can see it. I'm going to zoom you in here. And if I'm not making sense, please leave me a comment and I will be happy to explain it. If you've been watching me for a while, I think the way I'm explaining it, it makes sense to me, and it might not make sense to you. So if you have a question, just leave it in the comments and I will be more than happy to respond. And if I can't do it through words, I will absolutely show you. I have no issue with that. So, okay, let's get going. So I'm using a 10. And again, it's very important to make sure you start your mandala perfectly. You want a perfectly round dot. You want it almost right in the center, and I think that's pretty darn good for the first try. And let me tell you, I usually don't get it on the first try, so don't be hard on yourself. Please don't, because that was very lucky. I'm going to swirl the paint. I like to do this because I want the paint to be flat. I don't want it to dimple, just in case I decide I want to top dot. So now I'm going to go in with my 1. And I like to start with the same color going around the dot and then build my bands out. It's just preference. You can go to the next color if you want, but I'm going to stay with red. So this is my 1. What we're going to do is we're going to do the north, south, east, west method. And this helps with symmetry and spacing. So I'm going to load up my dotting tool. And I'm going to follow this line down for now. And there's my first dot. And I'm actually going to pull this off because I got a little bit of a glare. So I want to get as close to this center dot as possible. Again, you want to keep them nice and tight. So here comes my silicone tool. And let me get my Q-tip, and I'm just lightly dabbing it with water. I just want to make sure I'm feeling it out to make sure I don't have too much on there, because don't want to make a bigger mess. So again, important to start off your mandala, your dot bands perfectly, or as perfect as you can. Otherwise, again, it will spread out. So I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to do it again with my size 1. And I'm going to get as close to that dot as I can, and that's a lot better. So north, I'm going to wipe my tool off, because also you want to make sure you're wiping your tools off in between, because that buildup will make your dot get bigger and your dots will be uneven. Wipe my tool off. So north, south, I'm going to go east. Wiping my tool off. West. Now I'm going to turn my Lazy Susan. So then again, I've got this north, south, east, west. So now I'm going to go directly in between. It should be this line, but you know, stencils aren't perfect. This is a stencil that I used to follow, so still want to make sure that I get it as even as possible. So north, wiping my tool off, south, my baby wipes are a little bit more wet than usual, so I'm just making sure I'm drying it off too. East, west, turning it again. So what I'm going to do now, I can get 2 dots in here, so I'm going to place a dot closest to the left side. We're not going to do that north, south, east, west method. And I'm going to carefully try to fit my dots in between, turning my Lazy Susan. Keeping it as close to that center dot as possible. Wiping my tool off. So it looks like I'm running out of space there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shift them over a little bit. So I'm going to take this off. Use my Q-tip. I'm going to let that dry for a second. Going in with my 1, because if I don't let it dry, it will spread. So I'm going to go closest to, this dot over here. And I should be able to get 2 more perfectly in between. So that minor adjustment helped me be able to get those dots back in between. Okay, so now we're going to the next. I should be able to get these guys in here. What's going on? My baby wipe. So I'm going to go back over this guy. Hold on. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm an idiot. I was using a 0.5 millimeter. I'm like, what is happening? There's my issue. So in between, it was just for that one. We're going to turn again, making sure I'm using the right tool. Closest to the left dot. Then we'll fill it in with this dot. And if it feels tight, what you can also do is, when I dot, I like to touch the back of whatever I'm painting on. So this is a wood slice, so I like to touch my painting surface. If you feel like you won't be able to get a dot fit in there perfectly, then what I'll do is I'll gently try to tap the paint off of my tool. Okay, so we got our first band of dots. It should look like this. Now I'm going in with my 1.5 millimeter. That is very dirty. And I'm going to go on to the next color. I'm going to go up to a 1.5. Again, gradually we want to go up. We don't want to jump to a 2, 2.5. It'll get too big too quickly. And instead of doing the north, south, east, west method, we are going to skip dots. We're going to do every other dot and then fill. So show you. So the key here is to make sure we get as close to the red dots, band of dots, as possible without touching. So there, I'm going to clean my tool off. And I'm going to skip a dot. Skipping a dot. Grab paint. And if I'm not sure about spacing, again, what I'll do is, rather than just putting the dot down, I'll lightly put a dot of paint down there, fill that space, and then I'm like, if I know if I'm good, then I'll go ahead and dot all the way. And I'll talk through that if I do it again. So here, I'm going to skip this here, keeping it as close to those red dots as possible. Grabbing more paint after wiping my tool off. And then we're going to go right in between. Like that. So again, wiping my tool off. We're going to skip this dot here. I'm going to place a dot as close to those red dots as possible. Wipe my tool off. And place our dot. And sometimes it can, the dots can play tricks on your eyes. So I'll always kind of check, double check, make sure I'm happy with spacing and the placement. So there, I didn't press all the way down. I just put a little dot there, and then I'm going to do another one here because it looks like it's a little bit tighter here, but it's okay. Another one here, just a little dot. So I'm going to just place a little bit of paint there. Again, here, and then we're good because it just looks like it's a little bit tighter there. You know, no matter how much of a system I think I have down, I still find myself having to do that. But again, it's not going to be perfect. What matters too is just really keeping everything tight so that it doesn't spread. Like, I can live with it being a little bit tighter on this side. Like, I don't feel like I need to adjust that at all. Then we got our dots filled. So here, I will adjust here because there is a little bit more space than I want. So I'm going to take these two guys off, and I'm going to use my silicone tool. Again, I'm using it to pull the paint away from what's already finished because I don't want to just smear it all around. Try to take off as much as I can. And then this is where the Q-tips come in. Then I'm going to gently pull away. And if you've got a little bit of orange or whatever color you're using left, what I do too is grab whatever base color I'm using, and I'm just going to clean that up real quick. Using my brush, let me see which one. I'm looking, here we go. I've been using this one a lot. Get it wet. Don't need a lot, just need enough to clean it up. And I still find myself doing this at least once, doing these symmetry pieces in the middle. So no matter how hard I try, I still do it. Okay. So again, that's just me reassuring you, I still make mistakes. I don't usually get it on the first try. And I'm just using my Q-tip to kind of dry this up a little bit because I did have quite a bit of water because I want to keep moving. If it were just me, I would just leave it to dry and work on something else. Okay. All right, so that's pretty dry. I'm going to continue to let it dry. I'm going to move on to the next color. So I use a 1.5. So now I need to move on to 2. Let me clean this off. So I'm going to move to the next color while that's drying. So I'll work around it. So the next color for me is yellow in the size 2mm. Same concept. So I'm going to dot first, keeping it as close to the orange band as possible without touching. And then you'll notice too your paint consistencies are different depending on the color. So I can feel the difference now. So I'm not even touching I'm not even touching my surface here. I'm just letting the paint kind of fall off of the tool because if I press down firmly, it will spread. So also make sure you know the consistency of your paint and feel has a lot to do with it. So again, we're skipping, wiping my tool off, skipping dots to make sure spacing is good. And if you feel like you've got a little bit more space to fill, go ahead, and what I'm doing here is tapping more paint off if I feel like I need to fill up that space a little bit. So wiped my tool off, grabbing more paint, skipping dots. So I'm going to start with that size first. Then here I'm going to lightly kind of start filling. Maybe add a little bit here. Okay. Actually, I went over a little too far, but that's okay. I'm going to use a drag tool to help fake a dot. And then something else to consider, the reason why I did that was because I didn't, oh no, I did on this one. Something to consider is making sure your base is prepped really well. So for me, what that means is using a satin multi-surface paint so that it's smooth, one. Two, sanding in between coats if it feels rough is going to make a huge difference too. So prepping your base is very important. And then just keeping in mind your guidelines are going to what I call hang up your dots and create those lines. So that could have been, you know, a mixture of maybe I missed a spot with sanding and then when I was moving my tool around. So just keep those things in mind too. So 2mm, skipping a dot, and place paint down, wipe my tool off, grab more paint. I tapped some paint down. That looks good so far. And skipping a dot. So I'm going right over a line. Let's see if it does it. Okay, it did not get hung up, so that's good. And keeping them as close to your previous band as possible. Wiping the tool off. And something else I want to mention too, usually I don't draw my guidelines on going around because I don't usually use them, but if you're a beginner visually, you want to see where you are with spacing, and you can see here I'm pretty good with spacing from this hash mark to my yellow dots. They're just about even. So if you see that one side's, you know, closer to the other, then that's a good indication. One, this dot is off center, or two, maybe one side isn't as tight as the other. So that's a good indicator and something good to pay attention for so that you don't get too far out. Like it's not gonna be fun to have to restart, obviously, but if you see like your one side is closer to your hash marks than the other, then it's probably a good indicator that you need to start over. So I'm gonna do another, do a little bit smaller because this is where it's a little bit tighter for me. I'll place my dot in between, wipe my tool off. And again, if I'm not explaining something very well, or if you have a question, maybe I didn't think of something like a mistake that you could have made, like, hey, like this is what it looks like, you want to post a picture, just let me know. I'm here to help. So 2mm again, going a little bit smaller for right now. And then deciding, okay, there we go. It's not touching, we're good. Next. So I'm going to skip, place a dot here. And another here. And that looks good to me. All right, so now we're going to fill in the orange. That's definitely dry. So back to 1.5. Let me close my paint. Because I want, let me see. So here. And here. Yep, and that looks so much better to me. Okay, because if you remember, this dot was a little bit too far to the left, so it left a weird gap in between. All right, closing the orange back up. We're good with that. I am happy. So going back into the yellow with a 2mm. Skipping a dot. Yeah, just those little adjustments, believe it or not, will make a big difference. Like if it doesn't feel right to you or look right, then I would just go ahead and deal with it versus wait, and then you get all the way around, you know, to the outside and you're just like, crap. Then you can really see it, you know. Here we go. And boom. So I'm going to add a little bit more to this one because I didn't press down firmly, and we're good. And we're done with the yellow. All right, on to the next color. So 2.5 millimeter. So we're just gradually going up in size. 2.5. And my color is green. Same thing. Keeping it nice and tight. Skipping. Forgot to wipe my tool off, so I just need to be careful. I didn't do it again. Hold on. There we go. Wipe your tool off in between, trust me, because then your dots will get larger and larger if you don't. Okay, so 2.5, skipping a dot. And again, I didn't press down all the way. I just wanted to make sure we're good with spacing. So everything looks pretty good. Let me fix this. I'm gonna fix this guy because my hand slipped a little bit. So silicone tool. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one too, just in case. My eyes were playing tricks on me, so I think when you change your color too, it kind of messes with you a little bit. Okay, I'm just wetting my Q-tip. Should be able to get it all. Alright, I'm going to use my brush and just a little bit of black. I don't need a lot. I could probably get away with just leaving it the way it is, but I want to make sure I don't see any of that green. I know this is a Mod Podge brush, but it's one of the flattest. I've used it so much now, though, that bristles are getting away from it. All right. Let's let that dry for a second. So I'm going to go this way now. Actually, let me give this a second to dry. All right, so 2.5. Skipping. Okay. Again, 2.5. Leaving a little bit of a space there. Go, placing it right in between. Again, as close to those band of dots, those previous dots, as possible. Wipe my tool off. Place my dot. Looks pretty good. Wiping my tool off. Grabbing paint. Okay, just double checking. Grabbing more paint. Staying close to that band as possible without touching. this bubble real quick so I can wipe my tool off. It's a little bit tighter, but I'm just going to keep that in mind. Actually, we're doing pretty good over here. There's one dot, this one, that just didn't put enough paint down. So I'm going to go deal with that here in a sec. But I'm just going to finish this side off. I'm just not liking how that's looking over there. So there we go. Let me see. Yeah, it's this one. So I'm going to pull this off as carefully as possible. That's why I love using this tool. So you can get in those tight spaces, especially in between. Alright, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to use my brush this time. Use my silicone tool. I'm pretty much going over the same thing, so I don't need to cover it entirely, or the same spot. Just want to make sure. Like no extra green, like when I smudged it. It's outside of that little area. Okay. Okay, 2.5, and we're going to go right over that. Let's make our dot prettier. There we go. I think, yep, I am happy. All right, on to the next color. Okay, so we're going up in size, you guessed it, to blue. So 3mm. Again, as close to green as possible. Let me make sure this is loaded up. Again, it's a different consistency, I can tell. So I just need to keep that in mind. So now I'm touching the back of my, touching my tool to the wood. There we go. Okay, skipping. Placing one right in, but directly in between. Again. And if you feel like you need to make your dot a little bit bigger, so here, this is what I mean when my dot is getting a little hung up. Hopefully that's all it is, because then I can just only use my dotting tool, or I'm sorry, my drag tool to kind of shape it, because it's a thick line. It's part of the reason why I don't like to use lines, but as a beginner, I wanted you guys to be able to see visually where the bands end, and so I think that'll be okay. All right, yep, I think I'm good with that. Yeah, believe it or not, paint has feel to it. Like I can feel I have to dot differently with the blue. It's not as thin. Oops, my eyes are playing tricks on me. See if I can fix it. Use my tool again. Might have to change my lighting, you guys. I just want my dot to be as close to this green as possible. So let me see if I turn this off. Or actually brighter. I need it to be brighter because it's darker. Okay, there we go. So 3. Now I can see. There we go. Yeah, do you guys find yourself having to adjust your light often? Like I do. I do. Just double checking to make sure I like all the placement. And I do. Wipe your tool off. I'm going to fix this guy here. It's a little too far to the left, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull him off. And I could just be being a perfectionist. For you, you might be okay with that. I just see a lot of my mistakes, so I have to fix him. But maybe you don't see it as a mistake, like, why did you remove that? Again, if you've been watching me for a while, sometimes I just can't let things go as much as I try. Okay. So I'm going to wait for that to dry and we'll come back around to that little space. So back to my 3. Put up my paint. Make sure. There we go. 3. So I made my dot a little bit wonky. Let's see if I can fix it without having to remove it. I think I can. Let me just fix this side. He's a little bit longer. I'm going to remove it. Sometimes the shadows from the light messes me up a little bit. Maybe my eyesight's going. Maybe I need to go get my eyes checked. So this just has water on it right now. I'm just trying to remove more paint. Okay, I'm gonna dip it in just a little bit of black. Yeah, you guys, I make mistakes all the time. And at first I used to be afraid to show them on here because I thought it had to be perfect, right? Every video has to be perfect, but I realized you guys can't learn how to fix a mistake. Maybe this way isn't easy for you to fix. Maybe there's another way. You find a different way that works best for you to how to fix something, but I don't know, maybe this way is like, oh, well, I didn't think about that. So I used to think I couldn't show myself making mistakes on here, and I learned, no, you guys need to see it. Because even, so I'm going to go back over that one that I fixed. Yeah, see, so much better. So anyway, I learned, you know, reflecting on when I first started as an artist, like I thought everything had to be perfect, and I'm watching these reels that are edited, and I realize like there is no way they're getting, I'm going to skip that for now, they're getting each dot down right the first time, and they're not making mistakes. So that's why I won't edit stuff like this out anymore. All right, I'm going back to that one I just cleaned up. And yep, wouldn't you know it? Better. Okay, grabbing more paint, skipping. Yeah, I used to think, man, they're so good, you know, whoever I was watching. And they were, you know, they're 20-second reels, 10-second reels, and trying to learn from that. But I learn best from making mistakes and learning from other people who make mistakes. So, and then realizing how their mind works, and it's like, oh, well, I thought this worked for me, and it's like, actually, that's so much easier. And one of those artists is Jamie. Jamie works through what she's thinking through her mind, and it's helped me over the years. If you're not part of her Patreon, you should be, especially with her symmetry classes, her symmetry, like, I don't know, are they symmetry, geometry? Her geometry classes are crazy, in a good way, because it challenges your mind and it makes you think differently. And I think that's important to learn too, is how to think outside of the box and think differently, and following other artists will help you do that. Okay, now that we're done with blue, let me just double check my stuff. Okay. I'm gonna fix this guy. This one here. Everything else is good. Using my brush. Again, it's wet. Maybe let me go back to my Q-tip. And I'm like twirling the paint and applying a decent amount of pressure to try to remove as much of that blue as possible. Okay, I think I can live with that. Again, 3mm. And directly in between. Okay. I think I can live with that. That would be something on my... Where'd you go? No, it's too high. Yeah, let me fix it again. Let me see if I turn my light up one. Also, let me make sure I'm using the right size. That could be it too. So I'm gonna go back in with the blue, or I'm sorry, the Q-tip. Looks like my green's pretty dry. Let me close that for a second. Dry. So that could have been it too. It wasn't dry enough before I tried to dot on it. Okay. Getting my 3. Okay. Okay. Much better. Okay, much better. All right, so now we're going up to 3.5 in the next color. So 3.5 for me is purple. Let me see how this does with the light with my eyes, and then just change it if it doesn't. So this is a 3.5. And again, you can see it looks like all the way around to this next set of hash marks. It looks like it's pretty even going around, so that's a good sign. So 4, pressing down. Whoops, not 4, sorry, 3.5. Purple, 3.5. Staying close to those blue white or blue dots as possible. Okay, let me pull down one. Let me see if I can. I'm going to just turn that light off for a second and see if that helps my eyes. Again, 3.5. Wiped off my tool. Let me get another daisy wipe here. All right, 3.5. Right? Yep, 3.5. Just making sure. So I like to twirl my tools around. Spacing there looks good. Again, a little bit down. Still checking my spacing here. Fix this. Use my drag tool here. It's getting caught up on something. Again, it could be my surface not being very smooth in this particular spot. So I'm just going to help very gently to round out my dot. Okay, see how that does. Okay, back into the purple with the 3.5. Now I'm going to go directly over this line again. Pretty good. Between. Okay. No. Something's telling me to take this off. This one that maybe there was something in the paint. Because it did not sit on there nicely. Again, I could just be being a perfectionist, right? Like I can't help it. But if you don't feel anything, then fine. If you don't see anything, then fine. Leave it alone. Love her, leave her alone. But sometimes I cannot. Just looked a little wonky to me, so I'm gonna just deal with it. Oh, you know why? Because this was an area I had to clean up. So I bet you that has something to do with it. See all the black coming off? So it must have been a spot I had to dab paint on. Bet you that's what it is. I'm gonna leave the bottom part of that because it should be just going right in the same spot. Gonna try. There we go. Yep. Better. See, just deal with it and then you can move on with your life. Okay, here we go. Next color, or excuse me, next spot, same color, 3.5. As close to your blue as possible. I double clutched on this one. And what I mean is I tried to double dot. See if I can save it. No, can't save it. Again, pull this away. me skip that one for now. Let's go to the next. So if you're going to commit to the dot, just commit. Me double clutching is why it did that. Okay, next, skipping, and then filling. Again. It looks like it got hung up again, just right here, so I'm just gonna there we go. Use my drag tool. I can live with that. Again, skipping, dotting. Okay, spacing looks good. There we go. All right, so we are back around with a purple. Oh, whoa. Do not make a mess. Let me see. I see one. This one. See how it's more to the left than the right. So I'm going to remove this guy. Q-tip, putting it slightly. Cool. Give that a second to dry. All right, so now we're going to go back through our colors here, for me anyway. I'm going to reverse them, and I'm going to start with red again. So I'm going up to a 4mm. I'm going to let that dry for a sec before I go and dot there. Uh-oh. I got some fuzzies I want to make sure I get rid of. Right in between. Skipping. Wipe my tool off, grabbing more paint. Again, 4mm. Close to the purple band as possible, pressing down firmly. Looking good. Spacing still looks good. Still checking as I go, looking good. Wiping my tool off. Good. Oops, something is in my paint, so I want to make sure I grab that out before I try to dot. All right, I'm gonna fill in this purple with that 3.5 real quick and see. Looks pretty good though. Let me make sure I load this up. This is a 3.5. Going back in between. Okay. And then again, close my purple. Back into red. How we did. Okay, that last one I need to move the red over. But I think that's it. I think that's all I see. Red. I'm gonna remove this one and I'll move it further to the left. Oops, used a little bit too much water. I want it to dry fairly quickly, so I just flipped my Q-tip over to help dry it out, but also I have enough paint on here that, or water on here, I can still get the paint off. Okay, 4. Right in, whoops. Between. Okay. Let's see. Dang, it was still a little wet. Yeah, it was still a little wet. Let me try again. This time I'll make sure I let it dry, like I did all the other times. All right, let me pull this off. I'm gonna let this dry for a second. So we're gonna move on to the next color. Yeah, see, I should have let it dry. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this black. Don't need much, because I'm getting to that purple a little bit. I'll be able to fix it later. Okay. All right, leave the red alone. All right, I'm gonna go on to orange. So we used a 4, so we're gonna go up to a 4.5. 3, 2.5. Where's my 4.5? There we go, 4.5. Into orange. So we're getting into these. Oh, paint booger, get that out of here. All right, so these are gonna be a little bit thinner. The orange and the yellow typically are. So this is a 4.5. Skipping still. Looks like my dot's getting caught at the top on both of these guys, so I'm just gonna help it out a little bit. 1.5. And actually, we could probably go up to a 5, you guys. So I'm going to actually see the spacing here. I think we can go up to 5. So I'm going to remove these real quick. We're going to go up to 5 because we want to fill out this space pretty good. And again, preference if you want to keep it super tight. If you've got to go up another size, do it. Or you could just leave it the same. It's really up to you, but I want to try to keep it as tight as possible going on the outside too. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do it. Get another Q-tip. That one I think has had enough. I just feel like I've got better control if I do it this way with the Q-tip, so these come in handy. I'm just trying to remove as much of this paint as possible. Without touching the other band of dots. So I'm going to do this, grab my brush. I'm going to paint over this area. I may have even been able to go up another size for the red, but it's okay. I can live with it. Clean this off. Alright, let me go back to that red real quick. I think I used a 4, right? 4. And we're going to skip up to a 5. So here's my 4. Okay. And we're going to skip 2 sizes. We're going to go up to a 5. See how we like that. So orange, 5. Skipping. Still keeping it as close to that band as possible. Yeah, a good thing we skipped. I'm gonna swirl my paint, flatten them out. Okay. Yeah, and I think it all depends on too on how you dot. You know, maybe you're a hard dotter and you like to touch the back of your canvas or your whatever your surface you're painting on. And it depends on how much you grab. So my point being is a lot of it has to do with feel and what you see in the moment. And I could see that just didn't like how wide the spacing was. So that's why I decided to go ahead and let's just go ahead and jump to after the red. Okay, oops, let me make sure I stay inside the frame here. Okay, my dot you can see has gotten stuck on that chalk line, so I'm going to help it out using our handy dandy drag tool. Also, I've got something in there. I'm not going to fuss with it. It looks like actually here it's hung up a little bit on here. Sometimes I hope that I'll just continue to spread, but sometimes it just gets stuck. Okay. Back in with the 5. in orange. Skipping a dot. Placing it right in between as close as possible to the red. Okay, I can live with that. Yeah, I find that the orange and yellow, the consistency is so different. So I have to account for it. Here we go. This is where I decided to go ahead and go up 2 sizes. I'm glad we did, because it closed that gap quite a bit. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to skip to a 6 for the yellow. Let's do a look over here. See if I need to, this one. That one is a little bit too far to the left. I lost it. Actually, this one, yeah, this one. Right? Yeah, this one. So I'm going to fix this guy. Use a Q-tip. Clean it up. Again, that's where I decided, so that's why it's black. All right, let that dry. I'm going to skip to yellow while we let that dry, and we're going up to a 6, so we're skipping 2. So this is my 6. You might also notice too, your yellows and oranges are a little bit more translucent. They're not as opaque as the other colors. So you might have to go over the yellow once it dries, is what I'm getting at. Okay. So this is going to be our last band, it looks like. And if you were working on a larger mandala, you could go out and do petals. You could continue on through your, if you're working with these colors, with rainbow colors, you can work through your color palette until you reach purple again. Or you could just stop here and then start building out with a different pattern, like petal work. But if you were to stop here, like I am going to, I'll show you how I like to close it off and not leave it open. And I'll show you what I mean once I get back around. Looks like I'm gonna have to fix that one, and I'll do that right now while I see it. It just looks a little bit smaller. And that may be because I didn't either grab enough paint, was a little chicken and wasn't sure if I wanted to press down all the way, but whatever it was, it's definitely smaller. So we're gonna just deal with it now. And then before we paint over it again, we're gonna let it dry. Get my tool off well. Okay, yellow. Guys, this takes practice. You're not going to get this the first try. And if you do, awesome. That means I'm a pretty good teacher. But in all seriousness, it took me a while to be able to achieve, and even then, I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But I'm going to get it as close to perfect as I can. But give yourself some grace. This takes a while to achieve, lots of practice. And then on your practice ones, gift them. Make them into magnets. Because I used to think like, oh, nobody like wants my practice, right? But even the ones that we don't think are very good, people, it will surprise you how people are like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? And you're like, what? So just keep practicing. Don't give up. Practice makes progress, never perfect. I love that saying. It took me a long time to be able to do this. Okay, let me fix this orange. It was a 5. Oh gosh, my time right now, it's 10. I need to go back to orange. I'm going live at 10 on TikTok. So this is what I do before I go live. I record stuff. I do my back end work, like dashboard stuff. Oops, that is red. That is also not orange. Talking and painting. I think I'd be used to it by now. But anyway, this is what I do before. Record stuff, get stuff ready. Okay, I need some support here. There we go. And what I meant by support, I needed to be able to pull up without pulling the whole 4-inch round up. Last one, and we're going to do a look over, and I'm going to show you how I like to close off if I'm ready to be done with my bands. I'll show you how I like to close it off. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, okay, so we're all the way around. Again, this is a 4-inch round, and if I'm using an accent color, usually I like to add a metallic, and I love Splendid Gold with my rainbows. To close it off, what I will do is just add dots here on the outside just to make it feel like it's more complete. And you could even take it a step further and dot both with the same color as whatever band you're working on. But for this beginner series, we're just going to close it off with this. Again, this is a 4-inch round. Maybe you are an intermediate or expert artist and you can do yellow, like double dot yellow, double dot orange, and go all the way down, or just keep it metallic all the way through. And then I'll show you that stone again as an example of what I'm talking about. But for this beginner series, we're just going to keep it simple. So I'm going to have to go over that yellow dot because I can see a little bit of the background. I don't want to see that. So this is just a 2.5. I've got enough room for a 2.5 here. Maybe you need something smaller, maybe you need something bigger, but I like the 2.5 right here. And this is how I close off my mandala to kind of say, hey, this part of the mandala is done. We're moving on to the next in my mind. That's what I think. Okay, so this is the end of our beginner banded dots tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and that's how I'm going to finish mine off for that. And if you wanted to go a step further, this is the double dotting I'm talking about. And you can get pretty darn teeny tiny with it. And you can keep it metallic, or you can just stick with the color of each band when you're micro dotting. But that's going to conclude today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that like button. If you've got any feedback, I am more than happy to hear it. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them for you. And also hit that subscribe button. And yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye.